If aliens were to visit us today and you presented a budget titled Budget of Renewed Hope to them, they would probably think of optimism, progress, prosperity, hope, right? I mean, especially if you are in dire need of hope. But the Nigerian reality seems to tell a different story. The 28.77 trillion naira budget, which is indeed titled Budget of Renewed Hope, was recently approved by the National Assembly but has some interesting details. When we think of priorities for national budgets, especially in a place like Nigeria, we're considering things like education, healthcare, infrastructure, and economic development. But in spite of Nigeria's far behind status on education, less than 10% of the entire budget is allocated to public education. This falls short of the 25% recommended by UNESCO. To understand how bad this is, as of 2018, the literacy rate in Nigeria was 62%. 1 out of every 5 children in Nigeria do not attend school. That is around 18.5 million children, making Nigeria the country with the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. For the health sector, only 1.2 trillion naira is designated. That's around 5%, which is below the WHO benchmark of at least 15% for annual budgets. And this makes one wonder if the Nigerian government is even ready to address our healthcare needs adequately. Especially when you look at the fact that there are 4 doctors for every 10,000 people in Nigeria, and that number seems set to go even lower. We have one of the worst maternal mortality rates in the world, and our average life expectancy is 54 years. For infrastructure, things like power, transport, works and housing, water resources, and aviation, 5% of the total budget is allocated. Somehow, the budget saw it fit to allocate 363 billion naira to agriculture, a tiny 1.32% of the entire budget, which is extremely disappointing. 534 billion naira, that is about 2% of the budget, was allocated to social development and poverty alleviation programs, while the defense and security sector got 3.23 trillion naira, which is around 12% of the budget. For the past couple of months, Nigerians have had to deal with intense economic uncertainty and hardship following the removal of petrol subsidy and the devaluation of the naira, which the government sees as a necessary sacrifice towards our emancipation. But at the same time, this budget seems to be particular about pampering our already fat-pocketed lawmakers. 14 billion naira was allocated to the National Assembly Recreation Center, 4 billion to the National Assembly's Budget and Research Office, 3 billion for the procurement of National Assembly library books, 3 billion for the Senate car park, 3 billion for the upgrade of key infrastructure, 3 billion for the National Assembly's ultra-modern printing press, 2.7 billion for the furnishing of committee meeting rooms. What? I'm not done yet. The budget also contains some 61.29 billion naira for renovation and construction of buildings and 6.82 billion for procurement of vehicles, all while allocating 30% of the entire budget to debt servicing. Clearly, our culture of government wastage and fiscal irresponsibility is not yet a thing of the past. For a budget titled Renewed Hope, this looks more like a carryover of gloom. So what exactly does this government have planned for us? And what genre of hope are we dancing to? It hasn't been a year since the present government came into office, but from what we've seen so far, it certainly does not look like they have any concrete plans for our economic well-being. And if they do, they have to explain to us because clearly, no evidence.